Welcome everyone. I'm Sara Roversi. I'm the president of the Future Food Institute, and I'm broadcasting today from Polica, the capital and emblematic community, UNESCO community of the Mediterranean diet. And I'm very glad because today we are broadcasting from a very iconic place, and we're going to talk about nutrition. But not only that, we are now celebrating a very important gathering that is happening in our country, Italy, during these days, because our Food for Earth event is part of the special events that are surrounding the global summit, the ministerial meeting of all the ministers of the countries from the G20 that in these days are talking about environment, climate, energy. And maybe also you're wondering why we're going to talk about nutrition and food inside a summit talking about sustainability. We're going to talk about nutrition because we strongly consider food as the nexus of the society. Food is really combining what is the need for people and the need for the environment. And the food production is something very complex to understand, but also it is connected to the health of people and the health of the planet. So today we decided to create different interactions with our broader ecosystem, starting actually yesterday, talking with institutions, scientists, policymakers. And then today we are jumping into, say, the scientific approach, but also talking with our communities around the world, young innovators, startuppers, chefs. And also tomorrow, we're going to be here working with the local community and the heroes of the Mediterranean diet. So now it's time to start. And I'm very proud because today we are launching a research that has been for us one of the main research initiatives that we developed working really hard behind the scene with our partner Dole Packaged Food, connecting all the climate shapers, chefs, feeders, farmers, part of the Future Food global community to study and identify what's going to be the future of nutrition, developing a research called Nutrition Unpacked. Today we're going to present a research that is really the outcome of many efforts, many dinners, many explorations, interviews that our team all around the world has been developing, really inviting people around the table, trying to listen, which are the needs, which are the gaps, what we need to achieve what we're calling nutrition for all. So to start this journey together, I wanted to have with me Giulia Dalmadi. Giulia Dalmadi, she is the leader of our community of climate shapers and food shapers, but also she has been coordinating the entire research. And so I would love you, Giulia, to join me during this journey and this half an hour. We need to share with our broader audience how was the Nutrition Impact journey, which are our findings, what was inspiring us, and how we can use now this tool. So let's start, and I let you introduce our guest.
Thank you, Sara. Welcome, everyone. I'm super excited that finally the time has come that we can publish and release all the findings and the results of our research initiative. It was a 3 months long journey last year, followed by a lot of shaping of the ideas and potential solutions. And while we actually had a bigger team, what I will introduce in a very short moment, I would like to welcome one of our local hosts who hosted one of the research dinners, Ivani Pauli from Brazil, with me on stage. Ciao, Ivani.
Hello.
Hi, very nice to meet you. I unfortunately, due to some last minute cancellations, due to different COVID regulation changes, what we all are getting used to, unfortunately, some of the other local hosts didn't manage to make it, but I prepared a few slides, very short, so we can then afterwards continue our discussion with Ibi, where I can also introduce you to the rest of the team. So let me just quickly share my screen. So as Sarah mentioned, we at the end decided to call the research Nutrition Unpacked because there are a lot of parts in the food system, especially talking about nutrition inequalities and gaps, what we needed to unpack in order to not just repeat already researched and discovered facts and figures. The core team, as you can see, it was not only me who was researching this, along with three amazing individuals coming from different countries and backgrounds, because at Future Food, we believe that diversity is a core component to actually achieve change and drive change. So with Anastasia, Erika, and Yankis, we have been working on building a methodology and the framework for the research to make sure that we can unpack information what are not necessarily so obvious about nutrition nowadays. And of course, as you can see, we have many other Future Food team members who on one way or another were contributing to the research. Besides that, we have our local hosts. As I mentioned already, Ivani from Brazil. Why do we call them local hosts? Because we identified 6 countries where we hosted 6 amazing dinners with multi-stakeholder participants to identify and validate the assumptions what we made throughout our secondary research. So unfortunately, they cannot be here today, but they are equally important to when we talk about the results of this research. So what did we discover first? Well, nutrition for all begins with nutrition access. And the most important equation, and basically the backbone of our research, an equation, what we made up, what we identified through the initial research phase, that nutrition access is not only about availability and affordability, what we repeatedly hear, but also about acceptability. And as you can see on this little map, we try to find different directions how to tackle this question, which led us to these 6 countries and dinners in Zimbabwe, Poland, the US, Japan, Brazil, and I'm leaving out one more country, India, where we, besides the dinners, we also picked experts who then we interviewed to have deeper knowledge on, extract deeper knowledge from the dinners. As you can see, we involved over 100 people who were there to share their knowledge. And here we don't only talk about people who are experts in the food system, but also consumers. It was very important that we create an inclusive environment so that they are willing to share their relation to food and what do they know about nutrition. So this equation, as I said, is an overarching theme of the research, and the final directions we took were social nutrition, hidden hunger, food generation gap, and ecosystems. And one of the quotes, what is repeatedly coming back when we talk about this research, was from one of our participants, dinner participants from in Zimbabwe, who said, nutrients are like a community, they need to work together to work well. This is very important when we go into the research questions. And what did we ask these people actually? We had tailor-made questions, but over the entire 6 dinners, we always asked, what do they think what nutrition is? And as you can see this beautiful word cloud, there are a lot of words what were repeatedly coming back despite the different cultures or backgrounds or traditions. And we also asked them if they consider this during their shopping. And as you see, quite a lot and always is there, but we still have people who don't necessarily consider nutrition as a decision-making factor when they are buying their own food. And finally, what are the most critical factors to ensure nutrition for all? And here, some of the equation elements are coming back, but also education and so on. And this is something that obviously we at Future Food take also very seriously. And if we go into the final results, so we realized it's not only education, it's overall communication, because there are so many information sources what have influence on the decisions, on the food decisions, what our the younger generation make, what can have actually completely different effect on their diet when they go into over obsessive healthy consumption patterns as well. Then of course we identified how important women in this context are, because they are not only mainly the decision makers in the households, but they also don't necessarily know about the nutritional effect and why they choose certain things in the kitchen. So their empowerment is crucial towards nutrition for all. Finally, affordability. Well, we talk about this a lot when we talk about food and nutrition, but we also need to know that it's not just a matter of price. There are so many other elements what can actually lead to the fact that someone cannot afford buying the food, but that's not only money. It can be also distance. It can be many, many different factors, or maybe social status as well. Under availability, we have 3 key learnings. One, of course, is water, one of the very, very scarce resources, but we deployed even more and more. And I think it's not enough. We haven't talked about this enough, and a lot of people still take this resource as granted. So we have to be more aware how water also have influence on the nutrition through agriculture, through cooking, through many, many different points of our consumption. Finally, last but not least, we still have one. Celebrate biodiversity is also very important because, as we know, this is something what we have been widely discussed already. We are not consuming all those diverse ingredients and nutrients that are available. And we need to empower and celebrate those growers and indigenous communities who are still growing those indigenous fruits, what we also mentioned during the dinners, and we try to feature many, many more, because our disconnect or knowledge about these ingredients are disappearing. Finally, the disconnect between urban and rural. We do have to find how through rural empowerment we can actually provide nutritious food also in the overpopulated urban areas. So now I promised I don't take too much time. So that was the overall finding of our research, and I encourage everyone to visit the dedicated website where you can also download the report, where you will find more information about all this. And now, stopping my screen sharing, to actually ask Ivani, how did you experience the research? What was the most interesting point of the dinner, what you organized?
Super. So I'm a food and climate shaper speaking from Brazil, and here the main takeaway was the power of building bridges amongst the different actors in the local food system. It was realized that how many people are doing great things here in the city and in silos, and how they could all benefit from one another's work just by given the chance to do so. So this experience in the dinner was amazing because of that, bringing these different actors around the same table, discussing the same issues that happen all across different social spheres, different households, even if in families and people living by themselves. And then to create this space for discussing how food can be a tool of social and climate resilience as well, and how they can be active actors in building food sovereignty. This was very, very powerful. We've had youth, chefs, NGOs, digital influencers, farmers, consumers, teachers from diverse social spheres, policymakers, all around this one table. And it was very important for all to have this moment of positive conversations and building up possibilities in the midst of the pandemic as well, that hit Brazil very, very badly. And it gave us all hope and fuel to move on a sparked collaboration frame in our local community. So that was really incredible.
Yeah, mentioning the pandemic, So yeah, that was mid-pandemic, organizing 6 dinners all over the world. And it gave us the option to also have hybrid and digital and in-person events. And the one what Ivani organized was actually a hybrid event, co-organized with our very good friends and partners, the social gastronomy movement. So it turned into an actual South American dining, because we had online people dialing in also from Colombia and Ecuador, and we managed to have parallel conversations about the topic. And here it's very important to also mention that the aim was not only to validate assumptions, and but also to find grassroots initiatives and actual existing solutions. What we also list in our white paper, what are the solutions, what we already have, who and projects and initiatives who are trying to bridge this gap in nutrition. And we also had quick ideation and prototyping at the end of the research, where we came up with potential solutions. So the whole research is actually a first step, a foundation to an open source platform where we can all come together and actually act, partner up, and work towards a more equitable, nutritious future. So this being said, because I'm already overarching to our future, Ivani, did you have any follow-up maybe with the dinner participants? What was their experience, and what did they take away with them? Did they want to take action immediately afterwards? What did you see?
They built some connections amongst them. So we have the chef that was talking to the NGO guy that helps here the people that live on the streets, just to have a circular economy, because we have one of the largest agro-ecology farmers market here in the city, and there are a lot of leftovers at the end. And this chef, she has the opportunity to know all of these people, and got together these remainings from the farmers market that happens on Saturdays, and gives these as a donation to this NGO person that feeds the people on the streets. So that was beautiful to see these connections, and helping these people in most need during the pandemic as well. So that with nutritious food that was grown very healthy in every single way, either socially, environmentally, and nutritious as well. And today we still talk about it, and people are eager to get to know the results of this research. So I'm going to share that with them, and this is going to spark another wave of connections and talking about this and collaborations and everything to spark action for good here.
Yes, that sounds amazing. So let's drive those waves which are coming now after launching this research. And I think it's also very important why today. The goal with this research is also to provide recommendations for policymaking, especially in the dinner in Poland. We had participants from the local Nutrition Council, and we talked a lot about food access and how regulations have to be aligned with the goals what we want to achieve. And especially in Poland, so that dinner was also talking a lot about growers and how their financial literacy and literacy about growing practices, more regenerative growing practices, is not necessarily at the level that allows them to change. So how can our local governments, the European Union, or a broader entity, like bigger, higher level entities, support these changes? So I think it's very important that this report and the findings can also reach those who are having this power for recommending changes in certain policies. And the other element what I wanted to mention was the digital versions of the dinners. It was amazing to see how in a pandemic, our local hosts managed to join forces with the local food producers who at that moment didn't have a chance to actually do what they usually do, cook and provide nutrition to people, and then delivered it in cities like Bangalore and also in Japan. We had these beautiful produce boxes or prepared meals, what already sparked conversation. And I remember in India, one of the participants said, when we talked about biodiversity, their menu was featuring fruits what are not widely consumed at the moment in India. And he said we completely forgot that nature created seasons for us. And the seasons are providing us with all these beautiful produce, what are there for our health, because that's the nutrition what we actually need in those circumstances. So we also talked about the word indigenous, that it's only used by the newer generation. Because if we talk with those people who grew up consuming these diverse set of ingredients, they don't call them indigenous. For them, it was completely normal. And also in Zimbabwe, when we asked the participants, what did their grandparents eat? I remember the initial reactions were, oh, well, they were eating. So their facial expressions, their motivation to talk about it was not necessarily nice. And then we asked them, so, and how long did your grandparents live? And what do you think, why did that happen? And slowly but surely in the conversation, they actually recognized that their food choices or what they have available around them is not necessarily the best for them or for their environment. So I think having these multi-stakeholder conversations, and I don't like to call it this way because I think the most important part is to also have consumers. Because at the end of the day, everyone has a connection to food, and that's through consumption. So, and that at least majority of the people has only this connection. So why don't we involve them in this conversation and understand why they make the food choices what they make? So we are about to approach the end of our session. We had very limited time. So I think, Sarah, we would need to share the link with our audience to the beautiful website, what is out there now to be discovered and look through.
Absolutely, yes. You can go and deep dive into the research and download the PDF of our research on nutritionunpacked.com. And please reach out to us, because what we have been discovering throughout this journey is that this was not a normal research. We have been really creating bridges. We have been creating communities and many relationships starting around the table now are developing projects on the ground. And this is exactly what we are doing all the way through our programs and the initiatives we run around the world. We never do just the research to do the research, but what we do is to create knowledge, spread knowledge, and build together, build solutions, build actionable tools or frameworks or programs that can really help communities to navigate in this complexity and accelerate the transition that is needed. And what I really love of this research is that this is kind of a research that is highlighting what we need nowadays. We need to develop more and more the integral ecology approach. We're talking about nutrition, but we're talking about nutrition inside an environment when we're talking about also sustainability, climate change, energy. Why? Because everything is interconnected. And when we approach the topic of ecology with an integral perspective, everything changes, because we approach the economic perspective, the political perspective, the human, the social, the cultural, and of course, also the environmental perspective. And within that, there is something crucial, our health, our health. So unpacking nutrition requires a collaborative efforts from each actor of the food chain, from us, from the kids, from the family, from the teachers, from the policymakers, and also from the food industry. All the elements of the food systems need to be involved. Merging the grassroots movements with all the efforts that already companies are doing, but also policymakers are putting in place. If I'm just thinking about the European strategies, farm to fork, already there are very interesting and ambitious goals that we need to achieve, as well as if we take the Sustainable Development Goals as a framework. Again, there are very ambitious goals to achieve, but we can achieve them only approaching every action starting from the SDG number 17, partnership for the goals, working together. Co-petition and collaborative efforts are really the pillars to move forward a more sustainable, inclusive, and healthy food system. So I really wish you enjoyed this presentation. I really wish you the best. I really wish you will be able to involve your community to create a better environment around you. This is something that touches everyone, and we can really achieve the goals only working together. Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you so much, Evie, and to all the members of our team that has been contributing to this incredible work. I have also to thanks a lot Dole, our partner, because they care so much about this initiative, and they really care about making the food system more accessible, more inclusive, and healthier, and more sustainable. So we try to do our best to accelerate this transition together. Thank you, and reach out to us and go and check nutritionunpacked.com. Ciao, and follow the next appointments of Food for Earth G20 edition live from Polica. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.